and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, the Knowledge King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God has a master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational, religious, spiritual organization. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common, and that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Buddha, Jehovah, Yahweh, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is September the 20th, 2018. I remind you that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind you that fact because this show is an open discussion. It's a two-way conversation. For those of you that are watching on Facebook, I invite you to post your comments and join the discussion. For those of you that are watching by television, I invite you to join the discussion. You see the telephone number that's on your screen. Call in and join the discussion. Join this conversation. If there's something that's going on in your church, your mosque, your masjid, your temple, your synagogue, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, call in or post a comment on Facebook and let the world know about it. If there's something that's going on in your nonprofit organization and you want to let the world know about it, call in or post a comment on Facebook and let the world know about it. More important than what's going on in your place of worship, more important than what's going on in your nonprofit organization, if there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life. And I use that term literally, a miracle, because the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. I'm not talking about used to work miracles thousands of years ago. I'm talking about working miracles right now, today, September 20th, 2018. God is working miracles. So if God has worked a miracle in your life, call in and share your testimony with the world. You know, it might have been a health problem that you had. And nowadays, I was having a discussion with someone recently talking about all the people that we know were being diagnosed with cancer. It may have been a health problem that you had. Doctors gave up on you, said the medicine can't help you, nothing else can help you, just gave up on you completely. And God worked a miracle in your life and healed your body. Call in, post your comment, share your testimony with the world. You know, it may be someone that's in need of a miracle right now. Someone that's going through a similar health problem. Someone that's on the verge of giving up, losing all hope. Hearing your testimony might be the one thing that they need to hear to strengthen them, encourage them, help them hold on until God works a miracle in their life. So post your comments, call in, let the world know that God is indeed still working miracles here, September 20th, 2018. God is working miracles. I want to send out condolences to the Brumfield family, Brother Ernest Brumfield, one of my Zulu brothers. He recently deceased. They'll be having his services this coming Saturday. I'll be out of town. I'll miss the service, but I just wanted to let the family know that you have my sympathies, my condolences. It looks like we're losing our Zulu brothers pretty frequently here lately. But, we talk about losing, but really we know that it's not really a loss. It's a transition, okay? A transition, a transformation. All right, let's go right into our show. We have our announcements. This is the order of our show. We have announcements, and announcements will be followed by testimonies. That'll be followed by a religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast that which is good, coming out of the first book of Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. That'll be followed by actually our religious discussion tonight. The title of our discussion is going to be Symbols and Symbolism. Symbols and Symbolism. And the symbol that you see on your screen right now, that's called the Jinyame. And that is an Adinka symbol. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. And there are some additional symbols. And let's see. Actually, I think we're going a little bit ahead of ourselves now. So let's see if we can just back up a little bit. And matter of fact, our words of inspiration will come out of the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verses 4 through 25. And yeah, we've gone real far down. Let's see. All right. Our announcements. www.godisalmighty.org. That's our main website. And religious discussion blog, Facebook. We have Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. As always, I invite you, our main website, that's www.godisalmighty. I invite you to lock that into your web browser. All of our social media outlets can be reached from our main website. Rock of Ages Ministries International, Apostle Ronnie Bailey, www.ronniebailey.com. New Orleans Peacekeepers, 504-500-1706. Peacekeepers will help come out and mediate any dispute, help come to a peaceful resolution of a dispute. And it's free. Call 311 from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for free smoke detectors. Check your car's back seat for babies. We don't have any testimonies tonight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if we can go to our beginning. All right, religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And as I said, our discussion tonight is going to be on symbols and symbolism, okay? Symbols and symbolism. Now, when we talk about symbols, or when I talk about symbols, I'm using the broadest sense of the word symbols, okay? The broadest sense. And just about everything that we see is a symbol. See, our brain, when our brain operates through our eyes and we see something, what we're seeing are symbols. And now, tonight, let's just get into it a little bit. When we talk about symbols, and all the symbols, every symbol has a meaning. Okay? For instance, my attire tonight, my dress. And I know some of you tuning in and saying, wait a minute, who is that? Who is that on King's show tonight? He's got a guest host? Because you see this attire, you see the way I'm dressed, and this is actually the first time I've dressed like this on this show. And this show has been on for more than 17 years. All right. I see Brother Martin. Thank you for joining in on Facebook. Hit the share button. Please invite your friends to tune in. But again, as I said, everything is a symbol, and symbols have meanings. Now, first of all, before you get to my attire, before you get to my clothes, when you look at me, this human form, the first thing that comes, the first meaning, is that, well, this is a human being. Okay, now look, just how basic this is, how basic. So now that you see it's a human being, when your eyes perceive that's a human being, this symbol, okay, your brain says, well, this is something that I can communicate with. See, if I had to form of a dog, then your brain will say, well, you can't really talk to that entity. That entity doesn't understand you. Or if I look like a rock or a tree. But because I look like I do, this symbol, a human, is a meaning to the brain. Okay? Now the next thing, and I'm not going to even get into skin color or features like that, but the next thing is male or female. Now, when you look at me, this symbol, it looks like, well, this looks like a male. So immediately, there's certain preconceptions that your brain has because it sees this male symbol. Certain reactions. Now, I started out talking about attire, my clothing. Those of you that are regular viewers of the show, you know you've never seen me dressed like this on the show. It's always a suit and tie. And when folks look at this symbol, this human being dressed like this, there's a certain reaction that their brain has. There's a certain meaning to it. Okay? Oh, he must be African. Or he must be talking about black power. Okay? And I'm saying this because, you know, one of the things about the human being is self-preservation. Okay? And matter of fact, it's not only a human being, but nature. I've been taught that the first law of nature is self-preservation. And we take shortcuts as we exist, as we grow older and we learn things. Our brain, our minds start taking shortcuts. So let me tell you what I mean. So if I'm standing here and you see me and my eyes look all crazy, and you see me standing here with a gun in my hand, or if you see me like that out in the street, looking all crazy, all dirty, with a gun in my hand, self-preservation is going to tell you as soon as you see me, it's going to tell you, look out. Yeah. And if you can't, go another way. That's self-preservation. You don't know why I look crazy or why I got a gun in my hand, but self-preservation is going to tell you, don't ask him nothing. Get out of his way. Self-preservation. Self-preservation is going to tell you, if you see me and I have a chainsaw in my hand and I'm just looking all crazy and I start chasing after people, self-preservation is going to tell you, don't go around it, go a different way. You're not even going to sit down and try to process that. Not going to think about it. You're just going to go on out the way. The symbols and symbolism. You see, now this is a kind of bad example, but I'm going to use it anyway. Yeah, Brother Duvall, all right, I see my wife has joined us. Thank you, wife. This is a bad example, but I'm going to use it anyway. You see somebody walking around with a black shirt on and a little white collar. That's symbolism, okay? Well, that's symbolism, that's a clergy. And I say it's a bad example because a lot of folks will have that first reaction, that first impression, oh, this is a holy person, this is a person that, you know, does certain things, doesn't do certain things. And I say it's a bad example because right now, with the Catholic Church and everything that's happening in the Catholic Church, a lot of times nowadays people will see priests and they have a whole different idea of what them priests is all about. But again, coming to symbolism, okay? Everything that we see is a symbol, even as basic as the alphabet. And that's how we communicate. Everything is a symbol. Okay? Let's go to some of the earliest known alphabet. And some of the earliest known alphabet was a series of symbols that are currently called hieroglyphics. Those are the writings on the pyramids. And those writings, those symbols on the pyramids, those symbols were used in the same way that we use symbols today. The symbols that we use today in the United States, we call those symbols alphabets. So we'll put those symbols, like the symbol A, the symbol B, symbol C, we'll put them together, and that forms a concept. So if we put the symbol C, the symbol A, and the symbol T, if we put those symbols together, that brings to mind a cat. So we're just speaking about symbols, and I'm not going to go too much deeper into that symbol, but I did want to touch on that because we're going to talk about some symbols tonight, and those symbols are called the Adinkra symbols, Adinkra, Adinkra. And let's get into those symbols, and let's see if we have it here. And there's the Jinyame. And the Jinyame, okay, that symbol is one of the most famous, most widely known Adinkra symbols. And what that means is the Jinyame is a symbol expressing the omnipotence of God. So the same way I said we can put those symbols together, C-A-T, and we come up with the concept of cat, this symbol, the Jinyame, represents the concept of an omnipotent God. Jinyame is, and what I'm reading right now comes out of Wikipedia. Jinyame is arguably the most popular Adinkra symbol and expresses the deep faith the Akans have in the Supreme Being. Now, let me go, before we go any further, let's go, I said about the Akan. So who are the Akan? Okay, the Akan are a meta-ethnicity, and meta-ethnicity, that means a bunch of different ethnicities mixed together, predominantly speak in Central Tano languages and residing in the southern regions of the former Gold Coast region in what is today the nation of Ghana. And here is the African continent, and you see where you might be able to see where the pointer is right now. That's on the right side of your screen, right here, Akan, right? Akans who historically migrated from Ghana also make up a plurality of the populace in the Ivory Coast. They also live in smaller numbers across the borders in the countries of Benin, Togo, and Burkina Faso. All right. Subgroups of the Akan include Asante, Akayam, Agono, Wassa, Fante, Bono. So these are, again, when we speak about the Akan people from that area on the continent of Africa, and that's the western coast. Okay, sometimes called the Ivory Coast, sometimes called the Gold Coast. All right, so let's go back when we're speaking about the Adinkra symbols. So Jinyame in the Akans, this is I'm gonna back up even further on here, and I'm going to back up even further on here. It says, Jinyame is arguably the most popular Adinkra symbol and expresses the deep faith the Akans have in the Supreme Being. Sister Kendra, Brother Hiram, thank you for joining us on Facebook. If you got a message, something going on in your place of worship or something going on in your nonprofit, why don't you post a message and I'll do my best to get that message out and announced here on the television. The following names and titles given to the Supreme Being illustrate how he is perceived in Akan thought. Onyame or Nyame, meaning the one who satisfies. Onyankop or Nyankapan, meaning the unique and great one. And Tweradop, meaning the great dependable one. Now, I'm probably butchering these names, so forgive me because I don't know any better. In the Akan scheme of things, God, Nyame, is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Jinyame has become an icon of all Adinkra, encapsulating the faith of an African people who see God's involvement in every aspect of human life. The expression Jinyame is used in many ways. For example, it signals the necessity of God's intervention in a difficult situation which transcends the ability of man to resolve. It also shows the relative greatness of a task or entity. For instance, by saying, Obiara Ntumi Nkumi Jinyame, literally, nobody can kill me except God, the speaker signifies his hardiness as well as his faith in God's ability to protect him from harm. So these are, again, one of the Adinkra symbols, most commonly known, the Jinyame. And here you see a number of the other Adinkra symbols. And, you know, we used to meet at Milne, the boys' home, and this has been a number of years ago. We had Boy Scout troop that used to meet there. We had a tutoring program that used to meet there. And there were chairs, wooden chairs, that had these symbols carved into them. And these symbols were located throughout the facility. I think that Reverend Tom Watson was there at the time doing, actually was head of the Milne's Boys Home at that time. And that's over there on Franklin Avenue. All right, so that's just a little bit about symbolism and symbols. And now we're going to go into our words of inspiration. Our words of inspiration tonight coming out of the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verses 4 through 25. All right, now that's... And when she, we're going to start in verse 3. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pith, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. So what we're reading about, and that's where we left off last week, we read that verse, and that's Moses' mother. Okay, that's Moses' mother that has put him in this little boat, an ark, and put him in a river. She's not trying to kill him, she's trying to save his life, because remember, the Pharaoh had issued an order that all the male children of the Hebrews would be killed. And he had issued that order because the Hebrews were becoming too powerful inside Egypt. So they were trying to control the population of the Hebrews. And what better way to control the population than by getting rid of the males? Now, you know, I always say, look like I always say this every week, about not getting political, but look like politics just kind of sneak in there anyway. We read about thousands of years ago how the Egyptians were trying to control the Hebrew population by decimating the males, by killing off the males. Now, here in the year 2018, one of the things that we read about how in the black community, it seems as though there's some kind of effort underway to kill off the black males. Whether that effort be through mass incarceration, and when I say mass incarceration, if you commit a crime, you ought to do the time. I believe in that. And I believe that that ought to be applied fairly across the board. Now, something that's real curious, haven't heard a whole lot of publicity about this, but there was a study done recently, and it was in a newspaper and briefly on the news this past week. And it was showing how throughout the United States, statistically, and then they broke it down all the way down to the state of Louisiana, how there's a disproportionate number of black people that are arrested on marijuana charges. A disproportionate. And when I say disproportionate, it means that something's out of whack. That is more black folks getting arrested per capita than white folks. Disproportionate. So you might have 10 black people smoking weed, 10 white people smoking weed, and 6 black people go to jail, and 2 white people go to jail. Disproportionate number. And this was a study that was done. Objective study that was done, showing those results. Now, the ramifications of that, understand what I'm saying, the ramifications of that, and I'm a lawyer, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So the ramifications, and I'm not talking about drug dealers, I'm just talking about using weed. So the ramifications is if I'm a hardworking man, 3 children at home, smoking a joint. Now I said I'm a hard-working man, okay? Hard-working man. But I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I'm making just enough to pay my rent, my light bill, my water bill, buy some groceries, just enough to pay my bills. Hard-working man, work 5 days a week. Now, walking down the street or driving down the street, standing in the park, smoking a joint, sitting on my porch, smoking a joint. Police pass by. Police arrest me. Now, if I get arrested on a Friday, I don't care what kind of money I have. I'm gonna stay in that jail until Monday before I can see a magistrate judge. Now, if I have to be to work Monday morning, that means I'm going to miss at least 1 day's work. Now, if the magistrate judge finds that there's probable cause for me to have been arrested, unless I can bail out of jail, unless I have enough money to post bail, I'm going to sit in jail. And I'm going to sit there until my trial. Now, my trial might be months from now. So because I was caught smoking the weed, look what happened now. I lost my job. So now I lost my job, and not only have I lost my job, but now I have a record. So this study, this scientific, academic study that was done, objective study that was done, showing that happens more to black folks than white folks. The study didn't say that more black folks smoke weed than white folks. It said that more black folks are getting locked up for it. And when you have that process starting with children, look how their lives are impacted. You know, in the headlines right now, okay? Talking about a little politics. In the headlines right now, the big headline is Judge Kavanaugh, whether he is going to be confirmed as a justice of the Supreme Court, a lifetime job. Now look, one of the big controversies that's come up right now, a controversy, and this is what people be talking about. People talking about controversy of attempted rape, that he sexually assaulted this woman. And they're supposed to be having a big old congressional hearing about that Monday. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. And folks saying, well, he was innocent. He didn't do it. You see, what gets lost in the story, what gets lost in the story is that we have a man who's been nominated to be a Supreme Court justice, who's been accused of a crime, the sexual assault. He denies that. But there's another crime that folks just kind of, don't even think about it. And that's the crime. It says that this sexual assault happened at a party where they were drinking. And these were teenagers. These were underage. So it was a crime for them to be drinking. But see, ain't nobody saying nothing about that. So when you have middle class or affluent white folks, white children at parties drinking something that is illegal, it's kind of dismissed. It's kind of okay. No big deal. You see, because if you've been listening to the news, how many times have you heard anybody bring up the issue, well, what was he doing drinking? What were they doing drinking? I think he was 17. The woman was 15. What were they doing having a drinking party? But when you hear that same kind of story in the black community, the image, the symbolism is, well, this is a bunch of hoodlums. Look at it, drinking liquor and carrying on. The symbolism. You see, I said earlier, I wasn't even going to talk about the symbolism as far as the color of skin. But yeah, that symbolism means something. But getting back to where I was, what we're reading about, the war that Pharaoh launched on the Hebrew males, and it wasn't because he hated the Hebrew males, but because he wanted to control the Hebrew population. Get rid of the males, and that's going to slow down the growth of the Hebrew population. So now we bring that fast forward to 2018. If you can incarcerate the black male, drug the black male, have the black male in an environment where they're killing each other, then you are reducing the growth of the black population. Now, I ain't going to say no conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to say I'm reading the Bible, and that's the same old trick that Pharaoh pulled on the Hebrews. Same old trick. But, see, you know, God always got a plan. Always has a plan. Look what it said. See, Moses, this baby that we're reading about, he should have been dead. He should have been dead. But look how God worked this stuff. Look how God worked it. It says, his mama said, look, this is my baby. I got to do something with him, because if Pharaoh comes and find him, or Pharaoh's soldiers come find him, they're going to kill him. So I got to do something. Look, this river that usually folks would think about being something that would take a life. This river is going to be something that God has put there for me to use to save a life. I'm going to fix up a little boat and put my baby in there. Now look how God got this plan. Look at God. She put the baby in the little boat, put him in the river. And then look what it says. It says that, look, let's read through it. It says, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. Look, he's in the boat in the river, but God got somebody sitting on the side looking out for him. All right? Now look, in your life, you might feel sometimes like you drifting in the river, that you have no control of what's going on, that you just going along, you're just being carried along. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know where you're going. But I'm here to tell you, the same way that God had his sister looking out over Moses, that God can have an angel looking out over you. Oh, yeah, I know. I hear some of y'all saying right now, oh, yeah, you know, I was going through something, and somebody just stepped in and helped me out. There ain't no somebody just stepped in. God had that person there. God had that angel there. God's got a plan. See, the God I'm here to tell you about has got a master plan for all time and all creation. Now see, God had a plan for this little baby that was put in that boat and set in that river. Let's read some more about what God's plan was. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside, and when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. Well, I got to read that again. Come on. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside, and when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. Look, what I said just now? I said just not even 2 minutes ago, I said God has a plan. You see, Brother Ryan, thank you for joining us, brother. Hit that share button. God has a plan. Now, just when you read through this, look what it, just think how improbable, how unlikely all these different coincidences are. Now, what am I talking about? Well, look what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that there had to be a moment in time when Moses' mother had the idea to build this little boat, this ark, and put her baby in it. See, there had to be a moment in time when she had the idea. See, it might have been 7 o'clock in the morning. It might have been 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But at some moment in time, she had the idea that she was going to build this little boat and put her baby in it. Okay? Come on, work with me now. All these different little coincidences. So at one moment, some moment in time, she had that idea. Now, she went out, and the scripture says she went and got bulrushes to build the ark. So it took, from the second she had the idea, she had to take some time to figure out, well, how I'm going to build this little boat. How am I going to build it? You know, if she wasn't building these little boats all the time, that means she had to take some time to figure out how to do it, or somebody had to show her how to do it. So from the minute she had the idea to build a little boat, put her baby in it, from the minute she had that idea, it's some time that passed before she could gather the materials to build that little boat. Then after she built that little boat, let's say she was an expert boat builder. And let's say she had the idea that she was going to build a boat at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, she gets up early. All right? So 8 o'clock in the morning, bam, got the bright idea, I'm going to build a little boat. So it takes a couple of hours, 2 hours, to go get the bulrushes, get the stuff to build it. Right? So now it's 10 o'clock. Right? So it's 10 o'clock in the morning. She got all the stuff. Now she starts building. She knows what she's doing. She's an expert little boat builder. 1 hour. She done built the little boat that's seaworthy. It's big enough to hold a baby. It's strong enough to hold a baby and not sink. She's an expert little boat builder. 1 hour. So now it's 11 o'clock. Scripture don't tell us how far away she lived from the river, but let's say she lived right on side the river. So 8 o'clock in the morning, she had the idea. Took her a couple of hours to gather the materials. Took her another hour to build a little boat. And now she done put the baby in the little boat. So it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Put the baby in the boat. The baby in the boat floating down the river. Now, I'll be dog. Look at that. It wasn't raining. You see, if it was raining and the wind was blowing, that little boat would have capsized, it would have sunk, and then the baby be drowned. So that was a good coincidence that she had the idea, was able to get the materials, able to build a boat, and the weather wasn't bad. Wait a minute. Hold on. Now they had Egyptians all around that area. Now it's just a coincidence that none of those Egyptians saw that woman gathering the materials. It took her 2 hours. None of them saw. Ain't none of them Egyptians say, hey, lady, what you doing gathering all them materials? All them bulrushes. You see, ain't none of them Egyptians say, hey, lady, What you doing building that little boat? What's that little boat? What you gonna do with that little boat, lady? It's just a coincidence. Now look, now this is the big coincidence. Okay, this the big one. Look at this. Now, isn't it a coincidence? Let's read this coincidence. Because this one right here, this is a kicker right here. It says, and the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside, and when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. Isn't that a coincidence? All right? Isn't that a coincidence? First of all, it's a coincidence that this woman, Pharaoh's daughter, felt that she had to go down to the river at that particular time. You see that? She had the urge to go wash herself at that particular time. You see, if she would have had that urge at 8 o'clock in the morning, when Moses' mama first got that idea, and she'd have went to that river, she wouldn't have seen that baby in that boat. Because the baby wasn't in the boat right then and there. If she'd had the urge to wash herself while Moses' mama was building that little boat, she wouldn't have seen the baby. But it just so happens, just a coincidence, that she happened to feel funky and want to wash herself at the same time that Moses' mama had put that little baby in the boat, in the river. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. I'm going to have to read a little bit more because I think this was the Nile River that the baby was in. And you know what? Man, the Nile River is long. Very long. So now, isn't that just another coincidence that as long as that river is, isn't it a coincidence that Moses' mama had the idea about the little boat, was able to get the materials for the little boat, the weather was good, wouldn't sink the little boat, she knew how to build a little boat, put the little boat in the river. Pharaoh's daughter felt like she needed to wash her dirty self, went to the river at the same time, and guess what? Now, that's another coincidence. She was in the same area of the river as Moses' mama. Now, ain't all them coincidences. God's got a master plan for all time and all creation. See, I've been talking about coincidence, but those of you that know me, I know there's no such thing as coincidence. God has a master plan for all time and all creation. It was part of God's plan that Moses' mama would have that idea about building a little boat at that time. It was God's master 1 trillion years ago. God had it planned that Moses' mama would have that idea at the very time that she did. It wasn't no coincidence. It wasn't no luck, no happenstance. It was part of God's master plan. See, God had a master plan that the weather would be good that day, that the wind wouldn't be blowing, the waves wouldn't be high. It wasn't no coincidence. God's master plan. See, it was part of God's master plan that Moses' mama could go gather them bulrushes. It was part of God's plan that the Egyptian soldiers wouldn't ask her, what you doing with that stuff while you're building that boat. God's master plan Yes, it was God's master plan that Pharaoh's daughter will feel the need to go wash herself at the very time that Moses' mama was putting Moses in that little boat in that river. It was God's master plan that Pharaoh's daughter would be washing herself in that same area where that little boat was floating. God's master plan. Understand something else here now. Look. I've been talking about it, but I ain't said nothing about it. It wasn't just any old body that went to wash themselves. It was Pharaoh's daughter. See, it wasn't some other Hebrew lady. It wasn't some poor Egyptian lady. It was Pharaoh's daughter. God's got a master plan. See, it was God's plan that Pharaoh's daughter would find that little baby floating in that little boat. See, if it was another Hebrew, that Hebrew might see that little baby floating in that boat, take that baby out the water, and go bring that baby to the Egyptians saying, look, here's a little male Hebrew. I found him. Come on, master. Give me a reward. Turn him in. Kill him. If it was another Egyptian, a little poor Egyptian that found that little baby in that little boat in the river, that little poor Egyptian might have turned that little baby in. But no, that wasn't part of God's plan. It was God's master plan that Pharaoh's daughter will find that little baby floating in that little boat in the river. God's master plan. See, look, understand something now. If God could have a plan like that thousands of years ago, why can't God have a plan for you today? What has happened to God in them thousands of years? God has gotten weak. Come on, now if you believe in God, if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in the Quran, if you believe in anything, if you just believe, period, that there is a God, why can't God have a plan for you? I'm here to tell you that God does indeed have a plan for you. God has a plan for all time and all creation. God is indeed almighty. Okay, we might be able to get one more scripture. Brother Sumter, thank you for tuning in on Facebook. Let's see if we get one more scripture. And when, look at this right here. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. Man, you know, this is, I'm going to have to talk fast, because look what happened. See the script, it said, this is a Hebrew child. This is a Hebrew child. Now, immediately, see I talk about symbols, right? See the way the boat made, the way the child wrapped up and all the rest of that. They say this is a Hebrew child. That symbolism, Hebrew child. So the inclination the reaction, you remember what I talked about self-preservation? The inclination, the reaction was to turn this Hebrew child in. But look what the scripture said. The scripture said that what? It says the child cried. Come on now. The child cried and she had compassion. She had compassion on him. You see, that changed her heart, changed her mind. The child cried. If that child hadn't opened his mouth, she might have turned him in. But no, it was God's plan that that child would send out that plea. That child would say, look, have mercy on me. It was God's plan that that child would make that sound that would touch her heart, that will cause her to say, no, I'm not turning in this baby. I'm not going to have this baby harmed, destroyed. Part of God's plan. You see, the scripture says the child cried out. Let me pull this up. Look what it says. It said, read it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him. See, Lord have mercy. The babe wept, and she had compassion. As we wrap up tonight, it's my prayer that these words we read tonight might be some inspiration. That even in the midst of our weeping, it may cause an angel that God has placed there to have compassion on us. Yes, God is almighty. The same way God was mighty enough and had a plan for this Hebrew child. It's my prayer that God indeed has a plan for you, and that plan includes granting you peace, no matter what you might have to go through in this upcoming week. May God Almighty bless you and yours with peace.